have to look after World War II, when the Chancellor of West Germany, Willy Brandt, traveled the boat. He visited the Warsaw Ghetto. Willy Brandt got down on his knees at the Warsaw Ghetto and loudly and publicly begged the Jewish people for forgiveness. I believe if the Japanese Prime Minister and the Emperor would travel to China, visit the Nanjing Memorial Museum, get down on their knees, and beg the Chinese people for forgiveness, this would make a wonderful giant step forward towards world peace and recognition of Japan once again as a civilized nation.
Well, since this is the only university campus in the U.S. that has a memorial to remember all the Holocaust and genocides, I would like to have it on every campus, every university.
Every university.
Yes, why not? To remember all the genocides and Holocaust. I really like the Japanese people. I feel that I have sympathy for the Japanese people because I think Japanese people carry a lot of guilt because of the 14-year brutality and atrocity towards China, Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, all the island nations of the Pacific. And so many people die because of their military. But the Japanese people are also victims under the military, under the imperial Japanese military. They too suffered during World War II. But I believe if the Japan government would make a formal apology, an apology passed by the Diet and signed by the Emperor, I think the status of Japan as a country would move up. And Japan would gain a lot of respect in the world. And then there could be peace and reconciliation among all the Asian nations.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that would be wonderful. Oh, the Opium War.
Opium War.
Yeah, that's a different story. I don't think I want to go. I'm not going to go into that.
You don't want?
No.
Not interesting?
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Member?
Yes, how many?
Member, we have about 2,300, 500, 2,300 members.
A lot. Yeah. Why you decided to establish this organization?
Because about 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, in 1991, because the Japan government want to change the textbook of education for students.
High school student.
High school, junior high, changed the textbook. They denied they made security the Nanjing massacre. They don't recognize. They don't deny. They deny. So we hear the news over here and try to let everybody know what the Japanese government did. This is wrong. This is wrong.
How about an American student not interesting this topic or interesting American?
So once they know, they are interested because they know they find it surprised. I never heard about this history before. Never know Japan have done this so many crimes to the other countries because you know Iris Chan.
Yeah.
She wrote a book. After
Rape
of Nanking. Then when they publish, they stay on the published top
best-selling
for about several months. Yeah. So people like this book, and they're surprised by the fact by this history.
She was a imaginary, has a, the story like the children have an imaginary friend. She has imaginary enemy. At that time, she can't tell the difference. She was just paranoid.
But she was paranoid.
Yeah. But she did receive threats.
Right.
But so what?
Who's threat? Who's threat?
They didn't leave any name. I got the same thing. I had the same thing. Call my phone number and make threats. Yeah, I got the same thing. But so what? I didn't go crazy.
You are very strong, but she's nervous.
She's very strong. She is very strong. We are a tool of the Chinese government. We have nothing to do with the Chinese government. I keep saying we're fond of the Chinese government. We didn't take a single dime, not a single penny from the Chinese government. We have no money from Chinese. Actually, we help the victims. We help the comfort women, we help the forced labor. We raise the fund in the United States, help the victims. We help them to file a lawsuit in the United States. In Los Angeles, in Washington, in New York, and we went to U.S. Supreme Court. We pay for it. We raise the money. Everybody chip in. None of them reported. It keeps continue to say we're funded by the Chinese government. You know, when I applied for visa to China, they wouldn't give to me because they know I'm anti-communist. You see, my family, my grandfather was educated in Japan. He has a PhD from Minji University. Yeah, he is the classmate of the Japanese governor of Taiwan in 1920. We were nationalists. We're not communists. We were fighting with the communists. I'm from Taiwan. I'm not from China. So they are totally distort this thing. You see, the Chinese government, they don't want to have anything. In fact, they were trying to also distort my history. You know, there's already a statue in Chinatown. You know that? It's the goddess of democracy.
Oh.
That's what we put it there, against the Chinese. It's a replica of the big statue in Beijing in 1989, before the Chinese government killed the students.
Yeah.
We lobby the U.S. Congress to sanction Chinese. So Chinese cannot enter any trade with the United States for 10 years.
What is your final goal, purpose?
Because we're speaking for the victims. The only proof is if the government in question being challenged, then the question, the issue of the victims' issue can rise. Okay, that will tip the balance. If you don't discredit them, then they always got the upper hand. Okay, just like, you know, people will say, what do you care about Japan rearm, militarization? Okay, we need to point it out what's wrong with it, whether it's in the regional peace, or whether it's in the domestic problem, economic problem, confrontation with China, with the Korea, or maybe there's a long-term impact in the future of Japan itself. Once we prove those things, people start to look at, yes, when we criticize Japan, we have a reason, okay? So we need to really point out Japan is returning to its old ways. It's a danger. That is a danger done by the Abe administration. Yeah, why? You see what they're doing? They are advocating a lot of things, exactly what they did in the 1930s. You know, Japan is the only democratic country in the world change the definition of a constitution without actually changing the constitution. Abe's administration called passing a law against the constitution by saying it's a reinterpretation. There's no such a thing. The administration cannot reinterpret law. Only the Supreme Court can interpret the law. That's a separate the power. Should belong to the judiciary, not the cabinet. The cabinet step in to reinterpret a constitution to its liking. It's no different from the Nazis. Hitler did the same thing.
How about the China?
I'm not saying China. It's
Xi
yeah.
Jinping?
Yeah, same thing. China is not any
Do you
better.
have any activity?
I'm not defending China.
Activist, lobbyist, or how can?
I wear many hats. I'm an investor. I'm an activist. I'm a businessman. I do a lot of things. Past and future, now. I work with a lot of people. I know a lot of people in different countries.
That's why. Are you planning to save the Tibet or Uyghur?
No, I'm not particularly looking to if I.
They have a serious problem, and you have influence to the Chinese government, so you can.
Yeah, I don't lock into one particular thing, because if I continue argue with China, with Tibet, for example, then I can argue all my life and never get it done. Okay, but if I change their mind about the way they're doing things, they start to talk with the Tibetan. They don't need to talk to me. I'm convinced then they were on the wrong path. They were better off. Then I'm successful. They don't need to talk to me about Tibet because they need to talk to the Tibetans. Same thing, if they talk to Taiwanese instead of try to shoot the missiles towards Taiwan, then that's correct. They should stop that. They should talk to the people in Taiwan. Okay? So I need to change their mind about their doing business instead of try to tell them how to do business. They need to change.
Chinese?
Yeah, the Chinese, they need to change. Same thing, I'm trying to convince the Japanese government the way they're going about business is wrong. But if they start to open up to talk to Chinese, talk to victims, talk to that, then I'm successful. They don't need to talk to me because I'm not a victim. See, then I'm done with them. Then I'm not going to move on.
You know relationship with this
No.
organization?
No, I have no relationship with them. They try to use our name. No, I have nothing to do with them.
Completely
No,
different.
no, I had a dinner with them. I talked with them, but I had nothing to do with the organization. This is the first time I heard that I have my pictures there because I have never been there.
I saw your face 1, 2, 3, maybe.
Yeah, I have never been there.
Really?
I have never been in that building. 5 years ago, that building was a newspaper.
But
That newspaper exists in 1894.
Yeah,
1894 creating that. There were three newspapers in that building. The previous two closed. Okay, the one created by Dr. Sun Yat-sen. Yeah, when he visited San Francisco, the Chinatown people gathered the money to buy that building for him. So they created this called the China Youth newspaper, morning newspaper. So that building become a foundation, but has no business. So she leased out the building. So what you said is not true. There's nothing there. She leased the building to somebody else. 2 years ago, she had the idea. She had an idea. She wanted to do something like this.
whose idea?
Florence's idea. Florence's idea.
One idea or?
Her own idea. Because she went to China. Her son married the daughter of the vice premier of China. So she becomes very close to the Chinese communists. That's why we don't talk. So she visits China quite often. So there's once she was visiting her hometown in China and discovered this old museum. She said, "Oh, this is a great World War II museum. I really like to do this in United States. Then they say, why not? If you do that, we'll donate this, a copy of this. That's how she got this idea. So 2 years ago, she called us, says, I want to create something in memory of the people sacrificed for the resistance war against Japan. So what's it called, the resistance? Yeah, so she's called us. And I said, okay, if you have a press conference, I will come. I'll help you to do that. Then we discover her plan for this thing is basically about war relics.
War
Relics. Battleship, tanks, airplanes. Okay, like Yasukuni. They're all about the war. Okay, about the war. Who fought the war, who's the bravest, how the battle was fought, all the battlefield things. Okay, the airplanes, the tanks, all those battles.
Yeah.
That's not where we're interested. We're interested in victims, atrocity. We want to help the people still couldn't get answer to why this thing happened to them. The forced laborers, the comfort women, the massacre victims. We're not in there to glorify war. War can happen between two countries or within a country. War happens all the time. It could be right, could be wrong, but that's not what we do. We speak for human rights. So we speak for people, okay? So we say, no, if you want to create something like this, we insist at least part of it should highlight what happened to the people. We don't care about the military, whether it's the Chinese military, American military, or Japanese military. Okay, that happened all the time. Especially why you are exhibit a war between China and Japan in United States, why the Americans or the tourists will care. The same thing, if you take an American Civil War museum, put into China, nobody's going to visit them. That's different from the Comfort Women Memorial because that's an international issue. Okay, that's not international human rights issue. This war is between the two countries. And you cannot exhibit a war between two countries in a third country. That's just not very...
So you're saying you're not really working for building Comfort Woman statue, but you are working for their victims.
Yeah, right.
You really care less about the statue building.
That's up to the people organizing, and they wanted to select the location to build a memorial.
Who is organizing that?
There are 40 different organizations. There are Koreans, the Koreans, the Filipinos, the Dutch, the Netherlands, the Dutch people, and the Australians. Something like this. But there are many. There are Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, Filipinos, Dutch. There's a Dutch called the Indo Project. That's the Dutch. Okay, the Lina Project. That's the Filipinos, and the House of Sharing, and Korean Americans, Korean American Forum, Chinese Americans, and the American veterans, and the peace activists. All the different groups. We are only helping tend to organize, okay? We are not playing a major role. So that's why you don't see my name showed up anywhere. Because I'm not a leader in that thing.
Who is a leader?
The leader, they select their own leader. The people you met, that's one of the group belong to this coalition.
Is that the rumor that she heard that someone assassinated her?
I think she was a imaginary has a the story like the children have an imaginary friend. She has imaginary enemy. At that time, she can't tell the difference. She was just paranoid.
Oh. But she was paranoid.
Yeah.
About that somebody might be coming to kill her.
Yeah, it's possible. But she did receive threats. Right. But so what?
Who's threat? Who's red?
They didn't leave any name. I got the same thing. I had the same thing. Call my phone number and make threats. Yeah, I got the same thing. But so what? I didn't go crazy.
You are very strong, but she's nervous.
She's very strong. She is very strong.
I
She was
really
sick. And yeah, they speak a really broken English. Yeah, I have seen those. I have received those threats. I know that. Yeah, they speak. And also, I receive, even I post Iris's video online on YouTube. Even today, I continue to receive threats from Japanese right wing. Yeah, their English is pretty poor, but it's very obvious they're totally brainwashed. You know, it's just totally unreasonable. The way I see it, the more criticism we have, it's just like the same thing, the more threats I got from the Chinese followers, the government followers, that means I'm effective. Because if I'm not effective, they're not afraid of me. They don't have to threaten me. They don't care. If they care, that means I'm okay. I have all kinds of strange accusations, but I look at it, this is childish. If they made that kind of threat, that means they really don't know anything. And so these people is not going to be a threat to the society because they're so petty. They're making the threats just like the school kids. I'm going to beat you, screaming. Those things are not going to change anything. So, but the more noise we hear, that means more effective we are. That means we are reaching to the populace. We hope more people realize the truth. Eventually, the truth will win. If we stay silent, we don't say anything, then we lose, for sure. We say more doesn't mean we always win. But if we remain silent, I guarantee we lose.